Before we begin, I want to ask you to try something. I want you to stop feeling. Push away any emotions that might come up sadness, discomfort, and even curiosity. Just suppress them. Now, let me tell you a short story. Growing up, my dad would sit me down and he'd teach me about the truths of life. He'd say, everyone dies eventually. That's the circle of life. And one day, I'll die too. Then he'd explain the correct way to handle loss. You cry for 3 days, and then you move on. That's what strong people do. Growing up, there was never any space for hurt or grief. Emotions weren't something to experience, they were something to conquer. And through my dad's teachings, I thought that I had it all figured out. Until 2 years ago, when someone close to me had lost a loved one. I watched them grieve, but their grief didn't fade after 3 days. It stretched into weeks, months even. I thought that I could be supportive, but I slowly started feeling frustrated. Why couldn't they just move on? I asked myself. It wasn't until much later that I realized that the problem wasn't with them, it was with me. My dad had taught me that emotions and vulnerability is a sign of weakness, but that's only half of the truth. The full truth is that it's simply part of being human. And we don't even realize we've been conditioned to do this. Look around. Everywhere you look, people glorify being unbothered. Stoicism is trendy, but not even the philosophy. It's the illusion of it we see online. We are taught that emotions are obstacles to success and the only way you can ever achieve anything is through being cold and calculating. And at first, that sounds powerful. Who wouldn't want to be completely in control? But the more you think about it, the more you realize machines don't feel, they just exist. And when we suppress every inconvenient emotion, we become no better than machines. For years, I used to scroll through social media and I would see people my age, friends even, achieving so much, doing things I never imagined I could do. I felt jealous. Felt ugly. I hated it. So, I did what I had always been taught to do. I suppressed it. I thought that if I ignored it long and hard enough, it would just fade away. I tried to fake it till I make it, but all that ever did was make me feel disconnected. Until I came across a quote. Whatever you're not changing, you're choosing. And that hit me. Every time I sat there, letting envy eat away at me, I was making a choice to feel bitter instead of better, to dwell in my emotions instead of fusing them. So, I made a choice. And the change did not happen overnight. That's not how any of this works. But I started pushing myself, started studying harder. And by the 10th grade, I had a full academic comeback. But by the 11th grade, I felt as if nothing had changed. I still feel jealous. I mean, I was getting the highest grades ever, but all I could think about was how I needed to do more. Grades alone will not get me into college. I needed to work on my portfolio, achieve more things. It was foolish of me to think that the jealousy and the envy would magically disappear if I just stuffed my face into every book. But eventually I started feeling like my progress was for nothing until I realized that progress is never linear. So I made another choice, this time more of a promise to myself. I will say yes to every opportunity and I will eventually make myself proud. And I did. I became president of my school student board. I became an intern, published writer, a volunteer. I practiced discipline and I stopped saying no to opportunities simply because I was too scared. I basically did anything that aligned with the person I wanted to become. And at this very moment, I'm standing here delivering this talk to you. For the most part, I was terrified. So what if I fail? What if I'm taking on more than I can handle? More negative thoughts started creeping in, but instead of jealousy, they were now of self-doubt. But instead of silencing my emotions, I listened. So what if I fail? At least I tried. This little mindset shift unlocked a whole new worldview for me, where I stopped seeing failure as just failure, but as part of growth. And that's the beauty of it, listening and choosing. But as much as I enjoy listening to my emotions, I remain logical. So naturally, I turned to science to back up my ideas, solely because I needed a reason to believe in them. Research shows that emotions actually play a huge part in the decision making process, guiding us before our rational mind even catches up. We all like to think that we're so logical and that we make decisions based on reason alone. But the truth is, 95% of our decisions happen unconsciously, meaning our emotions are a determining factor to every decision that we make. And this proves something that most of us like to deny, is that emotions aren't obstacles to decision making, but they're the very thing that allow us to choose. Isn't it funny how I needed to go to science to prove that? I had to literally go for a reason to trust something that is wired into us as humans. But I digress. Imagine having to choose between pasta and burgers for dinner. Such a simple choice, yet you can never make a decision. This was the case of a man called Elliot. He was studied by neuroscientist Antonio Damasio after suffering brain damage to his prefrontal cortex, the area of his brain that allows him to process his emotions. Due to this damage, Elliot stopped being able to, of course, process his emotions. Surprisingly enough, he could still think logically. He could sit down and analyze every option in great detail. Problem is, he was completely paralyzed. You see, without his emotions, Elliot had no gut feeling, no instinct, no sense of urgency that drives him to make a choice. He couldn't decide what to eat, what to say, what to do. He was completely stuck. So, ladies and gentlemen, if emotions are the very thing that allow us to choose, why do we try so hard to push them down? We don't even realize we've been conditioned to do this. We're taught to hide our shadow self, the emotions we'd rather pretend we don't feel because we're too ashamed to admit that we feel them. They're the pain, the pain and the anger and the jealousy and all of the negative feelings that we lock away. But what if I told you that those feelings are not weakness, but they are power in raw form? Think about it. Without joy, there is no pain. Without fear, there is no growth. You're not just your light, but you are your darkness too. And the more you reject that idea, the more you reject yourself. So, what happens when you finally start embracing your emotions? The answer is simple. You will start to finally understand yourself, every piece, every emotion, and every layer of your humanity. Because your emotions don't weaken you, they reveal you. They're the raw, unfiltered signals of who you truly are, and without understanding those signals, you'll never truly understand yourself and your emotions, the heartbeat of human life. So, I finally ask you to start feeling again. Stop suppressing your emotions and stop being scared of being sensitive. Start embracing the very thing that makes you alive. Thank you.